Well, I've got a cage to finish, so I'm leaving this episode and hand to Matt.
In today's episode, I'm doing all of this.
Matt's first task was to tape up the headlights. According to our governing body's rulebook, any glass lights on a car needs to be either taped up or removed. We decided to go with the tape it up option. With the headlights done, he then turned his attention to the rear lights. Now this didn't strictly need to be done as they are plastic, however you are required to have at least one rear brake light, and as rover lights are getting hard enough to get hold of in the UK, let alone anywhere else in the world, we decided to tape them up just to give them some added protection. After taping up the rear lights, Matt turned his attention to the engine bay as there were a number of jobs that needed to be done there, the first being to refit the radiator fan. With the radiator fitted, the top radiator hose could be fitted. The next small job, and this is one that is stated in our governing body's rulebook, was to cover all hot terminals on the car. This meant anywhere there was positive 12 volt on an uncovered terminal, such as on a starter motor, needed a cover or taping up with insulation tape. When doing any electrical work on a car, it's a good idea to disconnect the battery, which Matt did. We also wanted to replace the very broken car battery in the car with a slightly better, albeit used one that I had. The next job in the engine bay was to refit the airbox, and I have to say I'm quite glad Matt was back to do this job. He was the one that originally took it out over a year ago, so I was kind of hoping he would remember how it all went back together. The only slight issue with this job was that part of the Rover's airbox now clashed with part of the Honda's fans that I previously fitted. This was dealt with by a little trimming of the Honda fans mounts. The final job in the engine bay was to drain the washer bottle of screen wash. Our governing body states that you're only allowed to run water in the car, no antifreeze or water wetter agents. While I think this is aimed more at the radiator, now was the time to drain the washer bottle while it was at my house and I had access to tools rather than having to do it at the track. We could always put screen wash back in later if we needed to. Unfortunately, to drain the washer bottle, once again the front bumper had to come off. Turns out there was a lot more screen wash in there than we thought. Don't worry though, it was disposed of responsibly by being poured into my Civic, Qashqai and Matt's Transit. With the washer bottle drained, Matt refitted the bumper, and that was one more job that we could cross off the list.
Okay, so the list. What have we done? Roll cage.
No.
Fit dash and trim. It's trimmed.
Yeah.
Thank God. Fit HVAC controls. Nope. Fit fire extinguisher system.
Nope.
Fix oil leak.
Nope.
Modify fit exhaust.
Nope.
Weld lower radiator pipe.
Yes.
That was done when you fitted it. Nice. Fit airbox.
Yes.
Decorate car.
No.
Mock up harnesses. No.
No.
Fit wheels and tyres.
No.
Build door and roof numbers.
No.
Fit underglow.
No.
Refit battery.
Yes.
Hey. Fit adapter rings to wheels. No, because I don't have the wheels. Tape alternator and starter terminals.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that. Wire USB sockets for cameras.
No.
Make and fit rear poly windows.
No.
No. Mount front windows. No.
Nope.
Fit bumper.
Yes.
Done that. Roll cage padding. Hasn't even turned up yet, so no. Coilovers. Probably not happening. Lee brakes with dot 5 fluid. No, that ain't happening. Drain washer fluid.
Yes.
I've done that. Drain petrol.
No.
We decided not to. Tape up lights.
Yes.
New oil filter.
Not yet.
Toe stickers.
Hard.
Yeah, toe sticker.
Yeah.
Alright, we can scribble out the S. Battery cut off sticker, no. Fire extinguisher sticker, no. Range shifting, no. Range trailer, no. Slightly better than it was.
I mean, it looks better. Yeah, it looks better than it did this morning.
Cool. Right, well, I'm carrying on with cage. What's yours? Next one.
I don't know.
You have a look at the oil leak?
Yeah, I'll look at the oil leak.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because then that allows me to do these raw stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can jack the top. Can I?
Yeah, you can jack it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's stable once I get
Yeah.
back into it, it'll be fine.
Cool.
Let's go.
Matt spent the rest of the afternoon figuring out what was causing the oil leak, the sump gasket, and then removed the sump ready for a new one to be fitted. Unfortunately, we couldn't get one the same day, so a week later after I'd finished the roll cage, installed the fire suppression system and the race harness, I crawled underneath the car to finish the job. With the sump refitted, I swapped the oil filter for a new one, ready to fill the engine up with oil. If you cast your minds back to the episode where we fitted the new radiator, you'll remember that in order to get the lower radiator hose to fit, I had to remove the downpipe as they would clash. Now unsurprisingly, our governing body has a noise limit imposed, so you have to run an exhaust, meaning I had to begin modifying ours in order to get it to refit again. Off camera I cut the flange off that bolted onto the exhaust manifold and the pipe just after the lowest bend. I then bolted what I could of the downpipe back on so I had something to aim for. With some initial measurements taken, I pie cut the small piece of pipe connected to the flange to angle the downpipe back towards the engine and away from the lower radiator pipe. With the pie cut made, I refitted the flange to the exhaust manifold and then marked up the orientation of the downpipe. With the orientation figured out, I got the first two parts of the downpipe tacked back together. I know what some of you are thinking, TIG welding the exhaust of a Rover 400, bit excessive isn't it? And normally I would agree, however I don't know what Longbridge made their exhaust from, but the material was really nice to weld. After a couple more pie cuts and bits being tack welded back together, I crawled underneath the car once again to mark where I needed to trim the downpipe to match back up with the rest of the exhaust. By angling the downpipe towards the engine block, I had effectively shortened the exhaust pipe. With the downpipe trimmed, I crawled back underneath to refit it, this time to be tack welded to the rest of the exhaust on the car. The reason for doing this is that no matter how well you mark and clamp parts together, they will always tend to move a bit due to the heat of welding. Doing it this way ensures that everything is in the correct position. With everything tack welded together, I removed the entire downpipe from the car and then began TIG welding it all back together on the bench. following day, after the downpipe had cooled down, I crawled underneath the car once again to fit it for good. With everything buttoned up underneath the engine, I turned my attention back to the top. The first thing was to put some coolant back in. Now our governing body states we're only allowed to run water as coolant, so you might wonder why I've just put in some antifreeze, and yes, it is antifreeze and not screen wash. The reason is that this car will be on a ship and it may travel into much cooler waters. I don't want the block cracking because the water in it freezes, so I decided that I would put some antifreeze in and just change the coolant once I got to the track. With the coolant sorted, I turned my attention to the oil.
This is a higher grade motor oil than this engine normally takes. Basically, it's able to withstand a bit more temperature. So we're going to be thrashing this thing for a considerable amount of time. So it's probably worth investing in it. We haven't really got time during the race to drop the oil and do an oil change. You would normally do that. So hopefully this should give us a little bit more protection.
It was just an oil change. What could possibly go wrong? In order to start the engine and get it up to temperature, the next job, and as the roll cage was finished at this point, was to refit the dash, instrument cluster, switches and all the wiring. The red cables you see me handling there are to do with the mandatory kill switch. I will show you how this was set up in the next episode. You might notice I'm taping up some of the outlets on the heater system. This is because these outlets will connect up to ducts that no longer exist in the dash, as I had to remove them in order to get it to fit over the roll cage. With these outlets taped up, it would force air down the remaining ones we had rather than taking the path of least resistance. In order to get the two centre dash vents to work, a piece of ducting needed a little bit of trimming. The following morning, after fitting the air vents, which did unfortunately require me to take the dash back out, I continued fitting the instrument panel, steering column controls and steering wheel. I have to admit I used a lot more cable ties than I'm comfortable with to hold everything together. Unfortunately, due to the dash bar, a lot of the factory mounting points had been lost and I didn't have time to fabricate new ones for everything. It was around about this point that I realised the hazard of fog light switches were not going to go back into the original locations, so I rerouted the wiring to them towards the centre console and I would figure out a solution for these later on. With everything connected up again, I could bleed the coolant system and check for any oil leaks.
It just popped.
Oh no!
Well, it was going rather well today up until about an hour or so ago. I've spent most of the day getting the dashboard back in, the wiring, the kill switch, everything I basically needed to do to get this car started again, because it has been a few months since I've had it running. Now, the job I had to do today was stick oil and coolant in it. Simple enough job. And so after starting it up, because of the work that was done to the sump and the oil cooler and the new radiator system, obviously I checked around to make sure there weren't any leaks. I got the car started after some troubleshooting. Note to self, if you're going to take a dashboard out and you're going to disturb a fuel safety cutoff switch, it really helps if you reset the thing afterwards. Fortunately, I did very quickly figure out it wasn't fuel, and a Google search very quickly said, here's a list of things, including fuel safety cutoff that you should check. Anyway, I got it running. It all came up to temperature. It was fine, or so it seemed. However, after a few minutes, I went to basically go back to the car to switch it off. And just as I got to the driver's door, I heard an almighty pop. Now, I straight away went for the kill switch, which killed the engine instantly. So that did its job. That's good to know. And then when I walked around, I expected there to be a coolant hose popping off, or a fitting or something had gone and there'd be basically water everywhere, except there wasn't. Instead, what I found was oil everywhere. This has really annoyed me because I spent quite a bit of money on some kind of motorsport grade oil for this engine to basically give it a bit more of a fighting chance throughout the race. It wasn't hellishly expensive, but a bit more than your standard motor oil. I found the culprit to be this, which is one of the hoses for the oil cooler. Now, I bought these brand new off a company after the ones that my friend Matt supplied with the oil cooler proved to be honest, beyond their best. And it specifically said it was suitable for oil lines. Obviously, I'm not very impressed. I will be contacting said company. Unfortunately, as it's a bank holiday weekend, and this car has to be on a trailer Tuesday night, I do not have chance of getting any hose before then. So what I've had to do is take the remaining end of this, and I've linked either end of the oil cooler together, so that any oil that's in there is not going to come sloshing out. I've had to take the front bumper and the underguard all off, because I've got to thoroughly degrease and clean them, because I can't have it leaking oil or dropping oil when it's sitting in the docks on the ship. And then what I've done is taken the sandwich plate out, taken the oil filter off, and put the oil filter directly back onto the engine. Now that obviously isn't an issue, that does get us running, and if we have to, we can race like that, although I would very much like to run an oil cooler. What I'm going to do is take the sandwich plate, the fittings with it, the seals, all of that lot with me in my hand luggage after I've obviously thoroughly degreased them, and I'm going to have to source some new hose between now and when I fly out to the final destination, or get my friends who are going to be meeting there to source some pipe, and hopefully we can fit it in the pits. I'm going to top the engine up. Had to do it with some standard 5W40 that was bought from Halfords of all places. Anybody who's from the UK will know what a terrible place they are, but hey ho, it's oil. It is Castrol as well, so I did go for a reputable brand. So yeah. Anyway, I've started it up. We've got no leaks now from the coolant. I'm still kind of trying to bleed some air out of it. There's no leaks from the oil. I'm going to leave the bumper and the under tray off for now. I'm going to refit them tomorrow. Hopefully it's going to rain, I think, again overnight, so I might wash them down a bit. In the meantime, I'm going to turn my attention back to the race harness.
If you saw the last episode, you will have seen me fit the race harness that I might rant about a what's it looking world leader that screwed things up for me.
Next small job is to address these, or rather, more importantly, this one. This is a locking wheel nut, which is great to have when you don't want your wheel stolen off your car when it's parked on the side of the street. What they're not good for, though, is when you need to do a quick tyre change in the middle of a race. We saw as well, of course, that we end up misplacing the locking tool, or we end up forgetting to take it with us when we ship this car abroad. The way around this is basically to fit some conventional hexagonal ones. I picked up a set of these off a Honda Jazz, which happened to also fit the Rover, so it should be a simple job of unscrewing that one and fitting this one in its place.
With the issue of the lock and wheel nut sorted, it was time to do something about those worn out Corsa steel wheels that I'd temporarily fitted.
These are the wheels and tyres that we are fitting to the car. Now these are a set of 15-inch by 6.5 TSWs. I think they're a Venom, I'm not entirely sure. The reason we're going with these though is because they popped up on Marketplace cheap and they fit over the brakes. They are probably about the chavviest alloy you could get, except this set of boxes, which is quite ironic because just off camera there's a set stacked over there. These have been wrapped in a set of used Nankang Sportnet tyres. Didn't particularly choose these, they just happened to be the right size and popped up locally, so we fitted them. They are a bit scrubbed, but they have got plenty of life in, so she'll get us going. We are going to need a second set of wheels when we're out of the race. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to ship any spares inside the vehicle, so we're going to have to go and get them locally. Two of my teammates are organising that as we speak. These are aftermarket alloys, so they need adapter rings put in the back of them. And I'm missing one anyway, but because it would cause potentially debris on the track, we're going to knock out these centre caps. While I get on with some other things, my dad's going to go and get these fitted up to the car.
While my dad starts sorting out the wheels, there are a couple of things I want to point out. One, you might have spotted these wheels earlier in the episode or even previous episodes, and that's because we were test fitting them to see if they'll clear the brakes. And two, the purpose of fitting hub-centric rings is to prevent any wheel vibrations at high speeds. Well, I'm going to end what was a bit of an odd episode to make here. I will admit none of these jobs were particularly glamorous, but all of them were essential to get the car race ready. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please hit that like button and share, it really does help out the channel. If you want to stay up to date with this build, then please hit that subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications so you get notified when new episodes come out. And finally, if you want to watch more episodes in this build series, then please click the link that should be on screen now. Once again, thanks for watching.